All right, welcome back. It's time to write your body paragraphs. Make sure that you have your organizer completed for your introduction. Remember, your introduction has the three parts. It has the hook, the book summary, and the thesis. And now we're ready to move into the body paragraphs. Now, let's check back at this thesis. This thesis is really the heart of your whole essay. And it is because it's what you're going to prove to be true. Remember, this is your argument. And within that argument, you're listing three different stories that you are going to find evidence from to prove your argument is true. There's the Joseph story, the Isabel story, and the Mahmoud story. And each one of these characters' names represents a different body paragraph. So there will be three different paragraphs, one for Joseph, one for Isabel, and one for Mahmoud. For this video, I'm going to do the Joseph paragraph. I'm going to model that for you and show you how how I wrote it. But you can use this as a model for the Isabel and the Mahmoud story. I'm not going to do all three for you. As long as you see the structure for one of them, all three of them are set up the same way. It's just a different story or a different character. Okay? So your body paragraph has three parts as well. It has your topic sentence or sentences. It has your evidence and analysis, and it has your closing sentence. So there's three parts to each body paragraph. Your topic sentence is going to just kind of be a little quick summary of who the character is and what the character does in relation to your theme that you're trying to prove true. And for me, again, mine is that sometimes people have to sacrifice things in order to survive. So I'm going to talk about what Joseph has to do with this idea of making sacrifices in a quick topic sentence. And I actually have three sentences for my topic sentence because it just worked out that way best for me. Sometimes you can do it in one, sometimes two. You might even need three, like I did. So here's my topic sentence. As a refugee, Joseph learns he must make sacrifices in order to help his sister Ruthie survive. Take off one of those twos. There. So I just introduced the character and I talked about how he makes a sacrifice in order to help his sister survive. Tragically, he makes the ultimate sacrifice by offering himself up to the Nazis in place of his sister. He is eventually sent to a concentration camp and dies. So my topic sentence is just kind of a little summary of what the event was in the story. Now I'm going to get into some specific evidence to prove this is true. Okay. So I go to the book. I find the best evidence, the evidence that proves it's true, but also the best evidence that something that I can really talk about. You don't want to pick just random pieces of evidence because you won't really have enough to say about it. And you really need to be talking a lot about the evidence that you choose. So be good to yourself. It's going to end up being easier in the end if you find really, really good evidence to show that your your thesis is true. So I went to the Joseph story and I found on page 315, right towards the end of the book, I think it's the last chapter, in fact, where Ruthie, his sister, is talking to Mahmoud. And so here comes my evidence. I do want you to notice how I introduce the evidence. I can introduce where I found it. So I put in the final chapter. Ruthie explains to Mahmoud on page 315. So you need to introduce your evidence. This is one way to do it by saying where you found it. So you can put the page number before. And do notice I have a comma, a quote, and then the first word that's in the evidence is capitalized. The first letter is capitalized. So it says Mahmoud on page 315, comma, quote, and when one of those soldiers said one of us could go free and the other would be taken to a concentration camp, Joseph said, "Take me." Period. End quote. So if you just a little side note, when you have a quote within your evidence, you're going to have to do a triple quote where you do a single and then you do your end quote. So it looks a little funny because there's 3, but that's the accurate way to do it. So after you include your evidence, then you need to talk about it. This is the analysis part, okay? Your original thinking about it. Don't just repeat back to me what the evidence says. Sometimes I've seen that where someone might say, well, this evidence says that he volunteered himself to go to the concentration camp. Yeah, I know that. That's what the evidence says. Give me some original thinking about it. What do you think about it? Why did you include this? How does it support your thesis? This is what I wrote. I said, this aha moment, notice how I used a signpost there, clearly shows how survival is dependent on sacrifice. Alan Gratz, you can use the author's name, that would be great. Alan Gratz left this major realization for the reader until the resolution of the book. And so I used that literary term resolution. Feel free to use the words like plot and conflict, resolution, dynamic character, theme. Use those words. You know them. So use them in your academic writing. Then I said in another sentence, I said, perhaps he wanted to emphasize how at times refugees' dire circumstances force them into making life or death choices by saving it for the end. What I mean by that is he saved for this big realization and how all the stories kind of tied together until the very end of the book. And I just thought maybe he saved this to really emphasize the sacrifices that refugees make. So that's just one piece of evidence. To have a really solid argument, you really should have 2. So I went back to the book and I found on the next page a different quote that I thought would work. And this is how I introduced it. I said, additionally, transition. Ruthie goes on to explain about her family, comma, quote, capital T, they died so I could live. Do you understand? They died so all these people could live. And then I put my period, but before I put the end quotes, I put the page number in parentheses. That's the other way to cite evidence. You can do it before the quote, like in the first piece of evidence, or you can put it in at the end of the quote, like the second one. But make sure that your period comes first, then your parentheses, and then the quote. Okay. Now here comes my analysis. Okay. Original thinking about this. This shows that by sacrificing himself, Joseph ultimately saves more lives beyond his death because Ruthie lives a long life and has many children and grandchildren. So, what I'm saying there is he didn't just save Ruthie, he saved her children and grandchildren too, because without Ruthie, those people would not exist. And then I said, when Ruthie shows Mahmoud her walls covered with pictures of all her family members, the reader knows that Joseph did not die in vain. So there's my analysis for that second quote. Okay. New original thinking. And then the last part of the paragraph is the closing sentence. So it's just a sentence to make it feel finished, to make it feel close, to close it, and it's setting you up for a different paragraph. So in summary is a good transition. There's more than just this. I'll give you a list that you can look at, but this is one you could use. In summary, or you could say in closing, Ruthie cherishes Joseph's choice to sacrifice himself for her own survival. So it's just kind of a little sum up, makes the paragraph feel finished. So you're set to start your second body paragraph for Isabel. So that's how you set up a body paragraph. Your topic sentence or sentences, 2 pieces of evidence, 2 really, really quality pieces of evidence. Make sure they're cited with page numbers, they're introduced, you've got transitions, and then the important part is this green part. And I want to tell you why I highlighted these pink and green. It's easy to see how much more green I have than pink. The green is the analysis, the pink is the citations. When your paper is graded, both by me and when you take this test in June, the analysis is the most important part of your body. Anyone can cite evidence. It's true. Anyone can just copy words from a book. I mean, it's important. I'm not saying it's not important. It's important to cite good evidence, but the green part, your original thinking, is really what the graders are interested in. So you need to have plenty of it. So I would say you need to have twice as much green as pink, twice as much evidence as I'm sorry, twice as much analysis as evidence. So highlight your body paragraphs. Look to see how much evidence you have compared to your analysis. If you don't have a lot of green, you need to think some more. Go back and think some more and add some more thinking about why you chose that evidence. So that's how you set up the body paragraph. I want you to go ahead, pick Joseph. He's your first, he's the first one that you're going to have to write about. Think about what your theme is. Think about what your big argument is, your thesis, and then go into the Joseph story and find 2 quality pieces of evidence that you can write some analysis for. And then you're going to repeat that process for Isabel and for Mahmoud. And the reason why I'm giving the body paragraph to you on a Friday is so that if you don't finish in class, because this is the longest part of your essay, you'll have the weekend to finish writing the body paragraph. So you'll be ready for the conclusion on Monday. All right, this is the end of the video.